Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we're talking about two very prominent Democratic politicians who are both very old and prone to gaffe. That's right, today we're talking about the Democratic presidential nominee Joseph Biden and also the top Democrat in Congress and the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Both of these figures are 80 years old or almost 80 years old. Biden is 77, about to be 78. Nancy Pelosi is 80 at least, and they both are showing their age certainly. I almost feel bad for them, but at the same time, they're not giving up. They're not giving themselves retirement or going home and letting this go. No, so since they're going to keep it up and keep going, we have to keep batting down their bad performances and their bad ideas. And that's what we've got going today. We've got a bit of a clip show for you to go over. We've got a couple clips from Biden, a couple of quotes, a couple of things from Pelosi. We're going to go over them and just talk about how bad form they are, specifically starting with Joe Biden. He's supposed to be the next president, according to Democrats. That's who they want to run the country. And he's had some bad developments recently, to say the least. Specifically, this first video clip is a clip of Joe Biden completely botching the Pledge of Allegiance. He says, "I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real." So he goes into his classic kind of like justifying and improvising. He always says for real and like look, and he says, "Come on, man." Like he has these sorts of tics that he goes back to like a lot now. Like he does it more than usual because he can't keep his stuff straight. He's getting overextended. He's on the campaign trail trying to keep up with politics and questions and interviews, and has speeches to write and stuff like that, and he can't memorize anything, so they always have a teleprompter around him. And apparently he can't even remember the Pledge Allegiance of the United States. I mean, this is a just old school thing that everyone learns when they're kids. You say it when you're a kid in school. You put your flag up, and in the morning you say, "I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all." That's it. I think that's very simple. Most people can remember that from their childhood, especially if you're coherent. But apparently Joe Biden can't remember like the simplest pledge for the U.S. So let's go ahead and check out the clip and see how bad it really is.
America, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real.
So he's clearly way off. Let's check it here. Let's check the pledge. Make sure I'm right here. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the..." Oh, this is the original one. So this is the new one. This is the 1954, I believe, the recent one. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." So yeah, I got it pretty much right, I think. Maybe a few little in-between words weren't perfect, but Biden's totally duffing it up. "I pledge allegiance to the United States, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real." Like, why would "for real" be in there? He's just losing it. He just can't keep up, and he's throwing these sorts of curveballs in there. And that's why this tweet from Steve Guest is getting railed. This traditional Canadian says, "Come on, man. I'm Canadian and I could do better. Eh?" So you probably should put an A in there. "Hey, good day, mate." That's more British. But anyway, "Yo, man, like for real, bro." He rehearsed that for 2 weeks and it was on the teleprompter. Still messed it all up. Time for a lid. That's something we're going to talk about next. The pledge, the thing. "Come on, man. Don't work for it." He always says, "Come on, man." That's like his quote now. Like he said this in a few interviews, and it's just him. Like he kind of gets frustrated with himself, but then he turns on who he's talking to or where he's at. Like he'll just say, like if someone asks him something and he'll start rambling, he'll be like, "Come on, man, what are you talking about?" Like he turns on them, but really he's just kind of frustrated with himself. It's that kind of old man anger that you get when you just know you're losing your mind and you can't keep up and you just can't keep things straight. And that's where I think the "come on, man" comes from. He says that a lot now. And there's other little responses here. "I pledge allegiance to, the thing. Come on, man. Joe, listen to me carefully. The Pledge Allegiance is not cut and paste or anything goes or mix a little jive in there." Yeah, it's not something you really mess around with. I mean, you could make a mistake. Everyone makes an honest mistake. But here's the point. You want to give him the credit. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt like you would a normal person. But he's not. He's not a normal person anymore. He's a candidate for president. He's been a politician for almost 50 years. They should be held to higher standards, especially if you're running for the biggest office in the entire world. The president is like the leader of the free world, and he should be able to be cognizant. He should be able to keep up, especially now. I mean, it's not like Biden has been in office for a while. I mean, he's been in other offices, but it's not like he's been president and he's starting to have some kind of downturn. It's like, no, we're talking about electing him and putting him into office like he is now. Like really, really bad. Can't say the pledge, can't take questions, can't handle the campaign, can't handle handle the trail. Is he really going to be able to handle remembering the nuclear launch codes or negotiating with terrorists or, you know, whichever it may be? I know we don't negotiate with them, but, you know, negotiating with other countries, getting stuff done locally, you know, building more infrastructure. It's like he's not going to be able to handle that stuff if he can't handle a campaign. That's why it's good that these campaigns are hard and long and they take a lot out of you. It just goes to show if you can't handle a campaign, you can't handle the office you're campaigning for, particularly the president of the United States. And another sign that Biden isn't holding up well is this next announcement here. Jake Schneider says, and there it is, 9:22 a.m., 42 days before the election, a lid has been called by the Biden campaign. Now, I had to look this up myself, so don't feel bad, but basically a lid is a White House press term. It means that there's no new news coming from that source today. Typically, it comes from the White House and the president. If they call a lid, they'll basically be not giving any more announcements or notes to the press. Now, this could happen at any point, any day, like something maybe could happen, or they're already done. They put a lid on it at 4 or 5 p.m. at the end of the day. But in this case, we're talking about Biden. His campaign is putting a lid on it in the morning, 42 days before the election. So he's calling it early. This was on September 22nd. And that's just a bad sign. I mean, this guy should be open to the press every day. He's running for president. He's trying to garner votes. He's trying to stay cognizant and answer people's questions, campaign. But instead, he's taking a day off here, which is essentially what it is. There's no new announcements. They're calling a lid, which is just a bad sign for a candidate. And it goes to show that he's not really as capable as they claim. And I think some people predicted, I don't know if the comments are here anymore, but some people were saying, you know, he seems senile. He seems like he has Alzheimer's or some kind of aging kind of problems. And what they can do with that is they can inject him with certain kinds of drugs and stimulants and get him going for, say, a town hall on CNN, which he had last week, or another speech. They could give him some uppers, you know, like give him a little gas up, you know, like put a little gas on his tank that'll get him going for a speech or two. But then he's going to crash harder at the end of the week. And that doesn't last long. And that could very likely be the reason for this lid. It's just, you know, he gassed himself up for the weekend. And by Tuesday, which is when this happened, he just couldn't handle it anymore. He needed a day off. He's probably not even in coherent speech right now. I really would like to be a fly on the wall in his campaign headquarters or somewhere that he's located, because if he's this bad on camera and in front of the public, like just imagine how bad it is in private behind closed doors when they're trying to get him prepared for this stuff. Okay, next we're going to move to the very famous Nancy Pelosi quote. She basically like rebooted herself during this live interview on ABC. This was in reaction to the Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg passing away last week. And I think that might have been part of the reason she couldn't handle it. She was like freaking out, like all the Democrats were freaking out because, of course, this means that Trump is going to nominate and likely pass through a new conservative-leaning Supreme Court justice. And that's why Nancy went on the news here. She said some crazy things, and she even like totally reboots and starts her interview over herself, which comes off really weird and awkward. Let's go ahead and play the clip, though, and then you'll see what I'm talking about.
10 states, as I said, on Friday, started their early voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Oh my God, that was bad. She just didn't even answer his question. She started the interview over. She's like, good morning. It's Sunday morning. Okay. She just looks so scary to me. I'm honestly like, she's one of the ones, like Biden looks really old and like he's falling apart too. But Nancy Pelosi is scary. Like she's 80. She's really got these bright eyebrows like that are really high up. She's got these weird, you know, I don't want to go too far into her looks, but she's scary. And then this reboot is a bad sign. You could see the guy interviewing her kind of like losing faith. He's like, what just happened? She just started over and said good morning, didn't even address my question. And by the way, this is Stephanopoulos guy. He's a former Clinton aide. I believe he's a straight up Democrat politician who now works for ABC. That happens at all these biased networks. CNN, ABC, Netflix, they all hire Democrats because they're liberal cesspools. You know, they're terrible and they're biased. And here Nancy's kind of of rebooting. It's just a weird thing. Like she just doesn't even address the question. She says good morning again, like they just started talking. And then she says it's Sunday morning, like she's trying to remember where she is. It's just really bad sign. And it goes to show, it's just what's really funny to me is, first of all, I mean, the quivers thing, they're talking about arrows in their quivers, and Pelosi's basically threatening to impeach Trump again. That's what's going on here. She said she would impeach him again, or, you know, try to do something else stupid. Like she's just basically desperate and throwing rocks from the peanut gallery, you know, like she's like someone watching a vaudeville act throwing tomatoes at the stage. Like she's got nothing going for her. And the other thing is, these Democrats, they're so old, they're so scary. They're all like these really old white people who won't leave office. They're like 80 years old. Biden's almost 80. Pelosi's already 80. Like, can you imagine, like, if I'm 80 years old and still doing like politics or something, like I am going to be really bummed out. I mean, honestly, I could make videos like this forever. I might change topics one day or make a video game channel or something, but you know, this is totally different than trying to be this politician, trying to change the country and shape it in this weird backwards way, like really woke, really annoying. And yeah, Pelosi and both Biden, they're the top Democrats, and they're both old and white and just like establishment people. I mean, I don't have any problem with them being white either. The only reason I bring that up is because they're leading this party that pretends to be woke and progressive and anti-white, and they're all pro-minority, but they're like the oldest politicians ever. They're like totally losing their faculties too. And this is the other thing, like they don't care about whether or not they can still operate or get things done. Like they've said this about Biden too. I believe AOC was the one saying, it doesn't matter if you like Biden, it doesn't matter what he does. Like we just need him in there so we could get our changes done. And that's partially because AOC knows she could control some old fart like Biden. She knows that she's going to be able to pull him to the left. And I think that's what a lot of these other Democrats are thinking too. They see Biden as a puppet, and that's a lot of what Pelosi is as well. Like she's just really old. She's smiling her life away right there in that picture. She's smiling, but there's nothing like behind the face, you know, like there's nothing there. There's no substance. They're not really people. I don't know. This is why people say they're like reptilians or something like weird like that. Like they're just like, you know, those people from that movie, They Live, like they're aliens possessing humans or something. You know, you got to get your sunglasses on to see who they really are. Like they're just these propaganda pushers. And yeah, they both duffed up. These are bad duff ups from Pelosi. And it goes to show how bad the Democrats gotten. And I think this is one last clip worth seeing before we go.
Clean air, clean water, pollution. They're coming after your children. Protect your children from what they're trying to do in this court.
Okay, so that's just another desperate attempt to get some pity. You know, it's so crazy because the Democrats do this all the time. They try to use children as pawns, and it's just kind of like that Simpsons quote, like, think of the children. Like, that's classic Nancy Pelosi. And I think you could see how unhinged and terrible these leftists have become. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also, hit that like button to get this video shared, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.